Hey everyone, before we start the show today, I want to say this show is brought to you by the Huntstand app. If you have not checked out Huntstand, make sure you do. It's one of the best mapping and hunting apps available today. It has a free version, Huntstand, and then a Huntstand Pro, which has more features and options than any other mapping service out there today for the hunter. So make sure you check out those today. Download Huntstand, upgrade to Huntstand Pro, and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back. Brand new Take Aim podcast, and excited to get this show out on Labor Day. For a lot of us, Labor Day kind of signifies the start of hunting season. A lot of states have already opened, and unfortunately here in Michigan, we got to wait till October 1st. But nonetheless, got an awesome guest. Clayton Coyle from Kansas is with us, and Clayton has really figured out at a young age how to take care and maintain and just land management on different types of properties. And I think the key to this story is everybody manages properties a little bit different, but Clayton has had just unreal success at a young age, including deer over 200 inches and just absolute giants, and some giants that are just 7, 8, 9 years old. So it's really cool to hear these stories of these older deer, but kudos to Clayton. He really does it right. So hope you guys enjoy the show. It's a good one. Clayton has done a great job out in Kansas, and what a great bow hunting state to be, doing the types of management stuff Clayton does. So hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you guys next week. All right, boys and girls, we are live, brand new Take Aim podcast, and excited to have Clayton Coyle on from Kansas, Clayton Coyle Productions. And Clayton, man, I know we chatted, I don't know, was it last year or a year before at ATA, and we said we were going to do a podcast, and that just finally has kind of happened, and I'm almost kind of bummed it's taken us this long to get together, but what's happening?
Not much, man. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I think it was 2017, because it was the year that I killed Carl. I had met you at ATA, and we chatted it up a little bit and talked about doing this. So it's definitely been a while, but we're finally doing it, so it's all good, man. Yeah,
it's all good. Yeah, excited to have you on, man, and really excited to talk to you about. That was just such a great deer, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But just kind of wanted to get with you. I've been doing some really good podcasts lately from Missouri, one of the states, Iowa, and this, you're in Kansas, which is obviously one of the best bow hunting states there is. So just want to talk about big deer and awesome bow hunting. And I was like, man, Clayton's the guy to do it with. So, like I said, I'm pumped to have you here and kind of just go through some of the steps. And I just kind of want to break down, let's off the bat, Clayton, let's just talk about like some of the ground you hunt right now in Kansas, and give me some idea what you're running out there. Are you on multiple farms, one farm, a big farm, small farms, but just kind of break it down for us.
Yeah, so I kind of actually hunt a variety of farms, actually being honest, ranging from 5 acres to, I think the biggest property I hunt is only 110 acres. I'd say we have about 6 to 7 farms, and maybe 3 of those 6 or 7 are my main focus. Some of the areas I hunt are getting developed up, so the ground's only getting smaller. So it's kind of different. It's not really like I'm hunting out west in some big grassland farms or big timber farms. I'm really not hunting that big of properties. I just am fortunate enough to have some access to some places that back up to some really good, what I call sanctuaries for deer to just hang out in. And some of my spots, I'm just like the only crops around. So I guess we can start with my main property that I go to. That I hunt a lot. It's where in 2017 I killed that big deer that you mentioned. His name was Carl, and he was like 215 inches gross. So I still hunt that place, and I actually just put up I've always wanted one of those redneck tower blinds, and so I just got one of those put up out there, kind of on the edge of the cornfield, and on some good crossing points. And I needed to do a food plot out there, but I just never got around to it. So it's just got a feeder out there, and it's just a kind of a spot that I just kind of put together. just kind of go and mow an area out for them to hang out because it's super thick around there, and then just try to keep the does there, and hopefully the bucks come around and find them and want to hang out. So that's kind of what I do, is just try to build a comfy area for the deer to come and be comfortable before they transition from bed to food. And really my goal is to just try to keep the does there, because like I said, I'm not really hunting any giant properties that I can keep bucks on. You know, they just kind of leave and go as they please. So if the does are there, they're going to be there at some point, and you just got to be there at the right time and try to catch them. So we're getting ready. I'm a little late this year on getting my stuff put together, but it's coming along. It also doesn't help that it's 95 degrees. So
yeah, that doesn't help, man. No. So tell me a little bit about this farm and how it kind of lays out. Clayton, is it some timber and brushy stuff? Is it a lot of CRP, or do you have? Yeah. I know you being in southeast Kansas, there's actually so you guys do have some chunks of really decent timber. So do you have any of that, or how's the property layout?
Yeah,
you mentioned you don't really have food, so you're kind of just working that, like you said, that bedding to transition area type of hunts.
Yeah, so this property, the 110 acres, backs up to, let's just say 6,000 acres of property that doesn't get hunted and it doesn't get pressured at all. And so that property, the 7,000 acres, has no crops. And so my property is 110 acres. I would say about 60 acres of it this year is corn, and the rest, I would say, like timber bedding. There's like a big cedar thicket with, good CRP and stuff that I know, the deer just have to love. There's 5 ponds on the property, and there's a good, 40-acre chunk of timber that the deer bed in. But I really think that I have a local group of does that live on the property. And in the early season times, the bucks will stay on there. But once things kind of get going and they start getting more traveling around doing their scraping and rubbing, they kind of leave on my stuff. So out of that 6,000 acres, I'm the only one with crops around. So that's the benefit for me. These deer just pile out of there. I mean, it's nothing I've ever seen. So I've been managing it now since 2017, and Carl's the only deer I've killed off of it, but I've been growing some. I've got 3 or 4 5-year-olds that are going to be pretty close to on the list. But so yeah, it's set up really well for just keeping deer coming to it, because they have really no other food to go to. So I think this year I've got 8 bucks out there. Not all of them are mature, but they're all over 150. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's unreal.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Things are shaping up out there.
Yeah, so what would you say is your most mature deer on the farm?
Shoot, I can send you a picture of him when we're done here, but he's, I think in 2017 I had pictures of him. I think he was 3. So he's gained some years since then, and he's just one of those deer that always comes around. He went from, I have his sheds from last year. He went from a 120-inch 8-pointer last year, and he jumped to, he's got drop tines, he's got a double main beam, he's got a ton of mass, but he's just not like a big framed buck. But I think he's pushing 7 years old, just guessing off of my pictures over the years, but it's kind of tough to judge once they kind of get looking the same. So he made a huge jump this year, though, which is weird, because I got 3 years of sheds off him. He's always just been like a 120-inch 8-pointer. I think he's pushing 160s this year. So
wow, it makes you wonder if he had a previous or pre-existing injury, or something had happened, or did you change anything? Maybe this year's supplementation on the farm drastically from
I didn't, and watching all these deer, I kind of have my own opinion of what deer do growing wise. I mean, everyone talks about let them go till they're 5 or 6, and they'll, that's going to be their primary growth, their biggest year. And I don't know, I see it different. I've seen some 3-year-olds that are 190 go to 4 and they're 150. It's just weird for me. Like I've watched and been fortunate to grow some deer for 6 or 7 years now and gain some history throughout those years every year with a lot of deer. And gosh, I don't know how you ever figure out what they do. Every deer is different. Like this deer, I mean, he's been a little tiny guy and he's mature, and just whatever reason this year he jumped 40 inches and added on tons of mass and drop tines and main beams and stuff. It's kind of weird watching these things.
Yeah, it is weird. And, for whatever reason, as you might kind of theory too, Clayton, I just have a theory that, the Midwest is so diverse and there's a lot of different, terrain and culture of deer, so to speak, with the different agriculture and all that stuff. And I think all of that kind of plays into that hand a little bit. And, we don't know. It could be a reduction in deer herd. It could be social stress. And maybe something like that happened and he had that change. Just like something like that could happen and you could have that negative effect. I totally believe that's possible. So, because I mean, Kansas is known for that. I mean, you guys have deer that just become, freaks at a really young age, at 2 and 3 years old. It's mind-blowing sometimes.
Yep. I got a deer out at this farm that we're talking about, and I posted a picture of him a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it's the same deer. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about, but I had pictures of him last year as a 2-year-old or whatever, and he was like a little, I say big frame, but he was just like a good-looking framed, like, basket rat. And I'm pretty sure it's the same deer, but he's 170 inches this year at 3.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. I just can't figure these deer out. And, like, another example is, like, the deer my dad's going to hunt this year. His name's Scarface. He's probably the oldest deer that I've had history with back-to-back years. I think he's either 8 or 9 this year, and I've known him since he was 3, so from 2015. And in 2015, he was a 140-inch 9-pointer, and then the next year he went to 165, and he's literally had the same frame and mass and everything the rest of his life. So I've got 5 years of sheds off him, and I don't think he's gained or lost more than 2 inches. So
yeah, that's wild.
They're interesting creatures. I'm really enjoying watching them. It's all I do. All I do is think about deer and what so and so's up to and where he's sleeping at, what he looks like. Be a little obsessive.
Yeah, I know. It's fun though. I wouldn't want any other hobby. I know that, and but I think it's so cool is that I knew previously from talking to you that you had seemed to have a lot of history with a lot of deer on your property, and that was one of the reasons that I thought would make such a good podcast. But going back to that deer you just mentioned, Scarface, sometimes it just makes me wonder, like, besides like some of the outside elements, like if everything's just even keel, how much just flat out genetics plays a role in it. And that's like a deer that makes it seem to me that genetics has a huge part of just like, they are what they are sometimes. And then there's other times where the moon aligns, the stars align, and then, a 215-inch deer named Carl blossoms.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting to watch what deer do. Like, and the same deer, so Scarface, he's been around for so long that he's had at least 2 generations of bucks that I've been able to watch, grow up around him. And we had another deer that was the same thing. He was a 150-inch 9-pointer every single year. He looked the same, and my buddy killed him, and we got him aged, and he was like 9 years old, and I think he was related to Scarface. So I think that goes back to more of just his genes, I guess. They just kind of get to a point and just stall there and just never shine. So I don't know. It's interesting. And then you got deer like Carl. He goes from every year. There was another guy hunting him, and he brought over the sheds after I killed him, and he had 4 years of sheds off of him, and he went from a 150 6x6 to a 180 5.5 5x5, and then he got all his non-typical stuff, and he was probably 190 there, and then he went to 215 the year I killed him. So
you just
never know what they're going to do. I didn't have him aged, and I didn't really have any history with him personally, but the guy that was hunting him told me he's probably 6.
Okay.
So that's what I go with. I mean, he was giant and big-bodied deer, but I should have got him aged. I didn't even think about that, but it would have been interesting to see what they aged him at.
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, the way you made it sound like he had those sheds, I mean, that means usually you start to identify a deer at least at 2, right? And if he had 4 years,
yep.
You know, you killed him, so you know he's right around that 6 or 7 age, which is remarkable. You know, but I definitely think, you know, again, it just boils down to, like, are they healthy or not healthy, and what kind of stress. And
absolutely.
At 6 and 7, they can still end up with their biggest set of antlers, which is crazy and astonishing, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah. It's tough to let them get to that age, but that's what we're trying to do. A lot of people, like, we used to, wait till they're 5, but we're trying to push them to 6 or 7 and see what they do.
Yeah,
we're starting to notice that, at 5, they're not, for us at least, at 5, we don't really think that they're where they can be. So we're trying to, shoot 6 or 7 or older.
Yeah, I mean, if you have which it sounds like you do, in Kansas, for whatever reason, again, man, it just seems like you guys can really get that upper end age class of deer, so it's like you'd be crazy not to participate in it.
And where we're located, and the world's changing every day, so I think people are starting to realize, if you want to shoot a big deer, you got to let it walk. And fortunately for us, I think a lot of the people that hunt around our stuff kind of understand that, and everybody's kind of looking for a bigger, mature deer. So it's really helping out, letting a lot of these younger deer that have really good potential kind of get to that point and get an opportunity to get as big as they can. So we're pretty fortunate there. But then we also have a lot of poaching going on, which is just a given in our area. So
yeah, that's
they're lucky
a crime, man. I hate that. I hate hearing that.
Oh, it's terrible. I get about 5 or so cameras stolen a year, and my blind's stolen. It's just, there's no way to stop it. It's crazy.
Oh, that is insane.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand either. That's horrible to hear that, though. But
yeah.
Well, this property, Clayton, let's get back to it real quick. I know you said this year you put up elevated, or maybe you didn't even say it's elevated, but I assume it's elevated.
No, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So besides that, but break down that, and then break down for me, maybe some of your stand locations, and how's the farm layout? Is it north and south, east, west, and how do you access, and what are your favorite winds to go in on and hunt? Yeah,
so as I've hunted throughout my years, I'm only 23. I don't think I don't know much. I learn something every day, but what I'm kind of realizing around here, at least where I'm at, there's a lot of guys hunting on every property around you, so you got a lot of competition. But so the kind of way I look at it is I kind of assess the property, and I think, okay, where are the deer living at? So figure out their bedding area, and then I kind of just, a lot of people want to get aggressive and go in there and get after them, and I stay out. My saying is if you build it, they will come. And by that I mean stay away from where they want to be, where they want to sleep, and just kind of like build an area. Like I just go out and I need to do food plots. I just not very knowledgeable in that array of things, but I just go and mow a spot. I've been using those scrape trees a lot, and those have been doing really good. So I just try to build a spot that these deer can kind of get out of their bedding and get somewhere comfortable and just come out and relax, and that I can access without busting them. So this particular property, I guess it's like a L shape of 40s, and all the deer bed to the north of it for the most part, unless like early season they'll bed on that cedar thicket I was telling you about to the south. So they'll come from the north. So I basically can only hunt north winds and anything west, so I can get away with the southwest. And so
what's your dominant wind out there, Clayton?
Oh, it's it's always just messed up. I don't know. So I'd say southwest is probably the most dominant. Yeah. Although we've started to get a lot of east and stuff. I don't know. It's always different out there. So I just try to hunt on the right winds and get in there without busting them, which the way it's kind of set up is the deer aren't really bedding on my stuff for the most part, so I can kind of just slip into my spot before they start coming out. And like I said, I just try to stay out of their way and just catch them coming to and from. Out there, it's kind of different. That's the only farm that I have that has crops, so it's just kind of a given that I have the food. They're going to be there at some point. I just got to get set up to where I can kill them when they get there.
And
I'll tell you, kind of like, go ahead.
What kind of ag do you have, and does that crop change? Do you have a rotation every year, or is it always the same?
Yeah, so they rotate it beans and corn. This year it's corn, and then to the south of my property is beans. So there's a big bean field that they're basically coming out of bedding, coming through my property, through the corn, and they're heading to beans. And then there's plenty of water around. I mean, I have 5 ponds on my property, but there's a bunch of ponds and other stuff elsewhere. So on that particular property, it's just kind of a given. Like, I'm just set up on the crops, kind of away from where they're bedding, and I got good access that I can just walk down the field edge and hop in my blind. Just kind of go from there. But the property I killed my deer at last year, that property is kind of cool to talk about because there's 0 crops. It's all river bottom stuff, and my property has the highest ridge that runs along the river, and so these deer basically, like, their main diet is acorns. So I still to this day am trying to figure out their main food source. I don't really know what it is. It's just all hardwoods. It's a 100-acre property. There's hardwoods, and then surrounded that 100 acres, just more woods on the edge of the river. And up top on that ridge, I have like a little 20-acre hayfield with a big cedar tree in the middle of it. And I'm sure if you watch my stories or something, you saw me every day in October and November. I was in that tree. It's just one of those magical spots. And so we've hunted it for probably 20 years, and we've always gone deep in the woods and sat on ridge lines and crossing points. And for that 20 years, I don't think we ever really killed more than like 2 mature bucks on it. So we obviously weren't hunting it right, because there's giant deer on it all the time and multiple, and it's just one of those other spots that in the rut you'll just get 5 different bucks randomly throughout the month just coming in for a few days to check all the does and do their deal. But so in that 20-acre hayfield, there's that cedar tree out in the middle of it, and I was sitting down one day talking to my buddy about how we've never killed any big deer on this property and what we're doing wrong. And what it came down to was the woods, the way it's all laid out with all these big river draws that used to hold water, is these deer just bed anywhere in there. So any ridge or any point, there's deer on. And so once you step foot in those woods, those deer immediately know. Yeah. Even if it's just a doe, she'll jump and then she'll run down the ridge, and, it warns everybody else. So they just know what's up. So I figured, okay, I got this 20-acre hayfield with an awesome, just like literally one giant single cedar tree out in the middle of this field. I'm like, I can get in that cedar tree. And so I mowed a little food plot. It's not really a food plot. It's just, there's some natural clover growing out there. And this particular place, there's not a whole lot of water. So I dug a water trough out in the middle of this field, and I got one of those scrape trees. And every time I go hunt that stand, it's just one of those magical places that, I have an amazing hunt every time I go. The deer come out. They're super comfortable. They just love hanging out in that hayfield where they can get away from the bugs and get out of those thick woods and just kind of run around and do their rutting stuff. So back to my point is just basically in Kansas, when you can feed and stuff, I just kind of make it to where I'm not bothering the deer as much as possible, because everybody else around us is in the woods with feeders and stands, right where these deer are living. So I just kind of like to leave my woods as a sanctuary and let the deer stay in there and be comfortable, and then just come out to me when the time's right, and just try to be there at the right time and catch a mature buck coming in to check the does, basically.
So Clayton, that spot you're talking about with the clover, so do you mowed a spot out actually for that natural clover?
Yeah. I don't really have any equipment.
How big is that area?
I'd say it's a quarter acre in the middle of a hayfield.
So which is really cool that you dug the water trough, which, you're adding some habitat. So when you say, because you mentioned this twice now about this scrape tree, elaborate on that a little bit. Did you actually buy something, or did you plant a post and then cut limbs, drill the limbs in? What are you doing with this scrape tree?
So last year was the first year that I did it. I saw the idea. There's a company called Scrape Tree, and they sell a thing that you mount on a T-post or a wood post or whatever. And not to diss on them or anything, but I just went to Walmart and got a flagpole bracket that you'd like mount above your garage.
Yep, exactly.
So I went and bought one of those. And the idea is you just get a T-post or a wood post or however you want to do it. I personally just used a T-post, and you just attach that bracket on the top of it and put a branch in it. And to be honest, like, people use like scent and stuff, and I think that all works, but I just stuck the limb in the thing and dug a little dirt spot for them out, and every single buck started hitting it the first day that I put it out.
Did you put a camera
I don't know,
in that area?
Yeah, I put cameras on all of them. I don't know what it is, but no matter what, every buck that steps out into that field comes straight to that tree and hits it, and then they go about their evening. I mean, it's really helped.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
My success a lot, and I was kind of, skeptical about it at first, like, I'm putting a freaking tree limb on a T-post, like, what's this gonna do?
Right.
But it works all year. So my buddy shot a deer we called One Eye last year out of that cedar tree on like December 25th on the scrape tree. So
wow,
it's definitely a tool that I have used a lot, and I've had a lot of success with. I don't know what it is, but just every deer, every buck that goes out there has to go hit it. They can't stand it.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it sounds like, obviously, with that cedar tree being in that hayfield, you guys have really almost, you could choose your access, I'm assuming, on the right wind, so you're basically getting it in there anytime you want, basically undetected.
Yep. So the from the bedding to where I'm at runs north to south, and so that particular place I can only hunt on a north wind, and anything else that you hunt, you're going to get blown at. So only north winds on that one, which kind of sucks because we don't really get them as often as I would like to. But we've been fortunate enough.
Cold fronts, I take it, right?
Yeah, and the last two seasons here for us, the Novembers have been really cold actually, so we've had a lot of north winds. So I've gotten pretty lucky on it. But if every day was north, I'd be in that stand probably every single day. It's just one of those spots that you just have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
What's funny saying that is, especially here being in Michigan, man, we talk about high-pressured whitetails so much that we have to be really particular about overhunting stands. But, like I'm sure you've seen in Clayton, from Bill Winke to Mark Drury to what you do there, if it's the right location and the right wind, man, you can go hunt a great area as much as you want and not disturb it.
Yep. So I think hunting out of that stand last year, I probably saw 15 different bucks. Some I had history with, some I had no idea who they were. In daylight out of that stand. It's just one of those spots that's crazy. So I was hunting last year. I was hunting 4 different bucks, all mature, all close to Boone, and it was like they were taking shifts on who was going to be there that week with the does. Like, it was just crazy. And so hunting those 4 deer, the biggest one was like 175-inch mainframe 9 that was just giant. And it was just crazy. Like the whole, like you could sit there every north wind all day and probably see deer the entire time that you sit there.
Yeah.
So it's really just, I've got it so nailed down to where these deer are just so comfortable being there. I'm not affecting them getting in and out. Like it's just, it like you said, it's just that spot that's just set up perfectly, and you just know that if nothing else is working out for you anywhere else, you can go to that spot and have a great chance at getting the opportunity.
Yeah, that's fun.
So it's become one of my favorites.
Yeah, you wish every spot was like that, right? You know.
Absolutely, it'd make it easy.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, between, unfortunately, but yeah, that is cool. But so when you said you saw 15 different bucks, you're talking like on the verge of shooter buck to a shooter type of deer?
Nope, 15 mature shooter bucks.
Oh, 15 mature. Jeez, oh, Pete. You're kidding.
Yeah, and so let's just say 6 of those deer I knew, and the rest of them were just random bucks swinging by in the rut, and I just happened to be there to see them.
Wow. The
crazy thing is that spot was so on fire that I was hunting. Really, out of the 4 that were coming in, I was hunting 2 because they're 170 plus. The other guys were just like an old mature 8-pointer that my buddy ended up killing that I told you about, and then just another deer that I would have shot. But the deer I actually ended up killing, it was November 11th, and it was like 9 degrees or something. And I woke up, I wasn't hunting, and I looked at my text camera, and there was a buck at like 9:50 in the morning going. He wasn't even stopping by my camera. I just got a picture of him in the background, and I was like, okay, that's at 9:40. Like that deer is going to be there somewhere. So I immediately went and got my stand. It's like 1 o'clock now, and I had no history with this deer. I just had one picture of him that morning, and he came out at 3:30, and I killed him.
Wow.
So that place is just so on fire. Like, even if I wasn't running trail cameras, like I could just go there and probably have a great opportunity to shoot a mature deer in November. It's a magical place.
Yeah, that sounds magical. And that was a cell cam, was it, Clayton?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Those have helped me a lot these last few years. But it's also kind of like a love-hate situation with them.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, in that case, man, that's nothing but love there. Like that is, obviously the benefit of that is the most MRI, the most recent information. You got a buck that you knew was a cruiser, somebody new to the area, and you knew that he probably had just ducked down in that timber somewhere on one of those edges, maybe bedded up a couple hours, and you knew he was going to come back out. He probably just wasn't done for the day. So, man, that was the right instincts all the way, to get over right away as fast as you could, because, odds are you're going to see him in the daylight that day again. So. Yeah. No, if it wasn't for the text cam, I would not have known or probably killed that deer. But when I say it's a love-hate situation, it's just gotten to the point for me, we're running like 6 of them, and our properties have gotten so dwindled down because of developments and stuff that I'm really just running those 6 text cams. So it kind of takes away from the fun aspect of things, of getting excited to go check your trail camera and look at sign and stuff. I don't have to do that anymore. Like these text cams, I know what's there. I don't have to go there. So it's great. They're the greatest tool I think that's helped us as hunters in the last 10 years. But it's just kind of taken away a little bit of the fun aspect of things, of getting to go out to your property and kind of explore it a little bit and see what the deer sign's doing and get excited to check your trail camera. But all in all, it's a great tool, and I freaking love them. I'll use them forever. Yeah. No, they definitely are, and I definitely can see that, happening. I think it's just kind of, us, a human nature type of thing that, like, man, if you're getting that kind of info, what do I need to be there for? I know there's going to be a scrape there, I know there'll be a rub over there, but, right. That is, it is what it is. It's almost like laziness, but like you said, once you, if you wanted to force yourself to, like go manually pull it or just go in there to walk it, you kind of get like that, refresh sense of like, accomplishment. Like, man, there's all kinds of sign in here. I definitely need to maybe pay more attention to this camera now. It's really going to happen type of deal. Yep.
Yep.
I definitely could see that for sure. So, is there any deer this year that you're really excited about between those couple properties that you just mentioned?
There are. I just haven't seen them yet. The place that I killed Carl at, the 110-acre piece, like I said, there's a handful of them out there, but none that I'm really taking a liking to. I think one of my buddies will shoot that super old non-typical thing. He's going to be a great deer for somebody, but I've got my eyes really on one particular deer, and his name is Lumber. So last year I killed that deer on November 11th, and I had one picture of Lumber on October 30th, kind of in the background to where you can't really make out what he is, but you see the frame and you see the mass and what he's got going on. You know it's a big deer. But I only got that one picture of him on October 30th, and then I killed my deer. There's still all these other bucks showing up at that spot, but November 30th he came back and gave me a way better view of him, and he's just a giant, one of the biggest frame deer I've ever seen. He's basically a 10-pointer. We call him a mainframe 9 because his G4 on one side is only like an inch, and 25 inches wide. His mass is out of this world. He's just super heavy.
Wow.
So he came back on November 30th. So he came back 30 days later. He was only there for one night, and I was just like, okay, this deer is just way too random. Like, he doesn't live around there. He's just a random deer that I probably won't ever see again. So another 30 days, I mean, he was so scripted, it was crazy. So October 30th, I get one picture of him. November 30th, I get a few pictures of him. And then December 30th, he shows up, and he's at the feeder for the whole night. And then it was just like he found his home. It was every single night, daylight, mornings, daylight, like all the time this deer was there, basically until he shed his antlers in February. He actually shed one side at my feeder on my camera, so I woke up that morning with him standing there with one antler and his antlers on the ground. So I went to go pick it up and found the other side like 500 yards away, and I think this deer's 5, and he was 100 and I scored him with a 23-inch spread. He's 175 inches last year as a clean 10-pointer with 3-inch brow tines.
Wow.
So
that's nuts.
The frame overall is just unreal.
That frame's got to be insane. So those beams got to be huge. You said he's wide.
Oh,
He's got to have great mass on those beams.
Yeah, super heavy. He's a really cool deer. I think he has potential to absolutely explode. So I'm going to try to hold out and see when and if he shows up. But I got a feeling there's going to be some other players that show up here in the next couple of weeks or once October hits. So I don't know exactly how this year is going to go. I'm pretty interested to see it, though, because there's a lot of deer from last year that I'm really interested to see. And one of those deer is that, I don't know if you've ever seen that moose paddle shed that I have.
Yeah, I think I have seen it. Vaguely remember, but I'm almost positive I've seen it. Yeah.
So that deer's from a few years back. We hunted him really hard, and nobody ever caught up to him, and he ended up getting an injury and grew back all messed up, and then we never really saw him after velvet season. But his offspring, 100% this deer's kid, basically. He was 3 last year, palmated out, it's exactly like this shed that I have, just 11-inch mass circumferences. It's like a moose paddle. And so last year he was 3, this year he's going to be 4, but it's one of those spots that I don't think we're going to be able to hunt for much longer. So as much as I'd like to let him get older, if he's big like I think he's going to be this year, I might set my sights on him. I have no idea. So
wow.
There's a lot of options. There's a lot of things to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like it. So you guys, Kansas starts when? September 15th, right? Early muzzleloader. Is that correct?
I think it's the 14th. It's that Monday.
14th.
Which is,
okay.
I think, yeah, it's the 14th.
So
And youth season started this morning. I was actually in a blind with my buddy and his son this morning, but
oh,
we didn't
how
see
cool.
anything.
No? Wow.
Nope, it was dead.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you're are you going to participate in the muzzleloader season, or are you just going to wait till October 1st?
I'm a bow hunter. I only bow hunt.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But archery starts on the 14th with muzzleloader.
Oh, it does start then. Okay.
Yep. So we get to start on the 14th.
Oh, how nice. Yeah, for some reason I don't
which
know.
Is nice.
I didn't know that, but that's very cool.
Yeah. So we get to start the 14th, but it doesn't really matter for me because we're leaving to go hunt Idaho and Montana and Wyoming for elk on the 17th. So I'm going to miss out on basically the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, which is fine. I'm not worried about it. If I had something big showing up that I needed to hunt, I'd be a little more worried about it, but I can't complain. I'm going to be in the mountains chasing elk, which is
no, I wouldn't complain either. And I'm sure you'll be able to come home to some big deer anyway.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll hopefully coming back with some elk too. It'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. That would be awesome. So one thing I wanted to ask, I wanted to touch on just a minute ago when you're talking about the feeder situation, Clayton, do you run like a big gravity feeder? Do you run a spinning feeder? And do you have a process for just how you kind of always go in and redo the feeders?
Yeah, so I basically have 4 like big, I would say like 100-gallon feeders that are like big stand ones. I don't really know how to explain them. Just a big metal feeder that I fill up. And then at some of our other spots, we literally just take a 50-gallon drum and cut a hole in the bottom of it and just fill it with corn. It's kind of costly because the coons and everybody else can get it, but if they don't have the food that they want, they're not going to be on our stuff because everybody else is feeding them right across the fence line from us. So I just try to keep the feeders full, and I don't really limit it to how much they can have and whatnot. And that's it. It's kind of expensive, but it's what we got to do because a lot of our stuff, like I said, just doesn't have crops. So that's the only way, besides food plots, it's just the only way that we can keep deer there.
Right. Now, are you running just corn, or do you run a type of mineral oil supplement on the corn, or anything special you do there?
No, I use just corn, and I use actually Khmer Deer has this product called Corn Coat. I don't know if you've ever smelt it, but it smells like freaking candy. And
yeah, I know exactly what it is. That's what I meant by the oil thing. There's some companies that do that. Yep.
Yeah, I had that stuff on all my feeders and corn, and it drives them nuts. Whatever it is, I don't know what it does, but
yeah, they
put a pile
of
corn on the ground, and then you put a pile of corn on the ground next to it with some Khmer Deer on it. It's like they just devour it way before the other pile. It's weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had that stuff, and then in the summertime, I just take a 50-pound bag of trace mineral and a 50-pound bag of white salt mineral, and just dig out a hole and pour that in the dirt and kind of mix it up, and then they'll make it like a giant crater pond deal in like a year or two.
Yep, exactly.
So
yeah,
that's all I do. I don't really get into using a bunch of different stuff or protein pellets or any of that. They seem to love the good old yellow corn just about as much as anything. So
yeah, if it works, man, you don't change it. So I mean, you figure that part out. So why change? Yeah,
absolutely. I do need to step my food plot game up, though. That's just part of me not being very educated on how to do it, and I do a lot of this just on my own. So it's just about time.
Yeah, anytime you want, man. We can get together and talk about that stuff. I'll help you out as much as I can. Food plot ideas.
Yeah, I'd love to chat about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, but man, I'm super pumped for this season, and every year, Clayton, I run like throughout the season, like an in-season report through guys, throughout the Midwest, just to see what phase of deer hunting we're at, so to speak. And but hopefully we can stay in touch. I'd love to have you back on and help with the in-season reports, and hopefully one of those reports will be you talking about sitting behind lumber.
Yeah, man. I'd love to chat about that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always down to talk deer, man. It's all I do. It's all I think about. It's probably not very good when I'm trying to make some money, but it's just in my blood, and I'm obsessed about it. So I'll talk about hunting anytime, man.
Yeah, I know. Same here, man. I'd probably, if I would focus 10% of what I do in a deer, I'd be a multi-millionaire 10 times over. I'm sure.
Right? Yeah.
No doubt.
If my passion about real estate, I'd probably be doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. So, but that's okay though. I'll take the deer any day over the week. So, but
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But good luck elk hunting, man. And before we let you go, let everybody know where they can, check you out social media wise, Clayton.
Yeah, I'm basically just on Instagram. You can follow me at Coyle Productions. I'll follow you back. I'm not stingy about following people. I just post my hunting stuff, and that's about all I do. So check me out. And if you want to see a cool elk hunt on YouTube, you've probably already seen it, but you can just search my name on YouTube, and it'll pull me up. When I was 13, I shot a elk in the chest, and it bled a lot.
Yeah. A lot of people have already seen that footage and had no idea that was you, including myself. But,
yeah. I was a little younger back then, so. Yeah,
totally cool, though. But, yeah, make sure to check that out. Clayton has a great Instagram page, and thanks again, buddy, for being on today. And as everybody knows, you can find us every week on iTunes, Unfiltered Outdoor app, and the Outdoor Podcast channel. And, Clayton, let's do this again soon.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. Good luck this season.
Yep, you too, buddy. Thanks.
See you later.